There are countless ways to die, but some are so brutal, so unthinkable, that they live on as legends of horror. Among them lies one execution so cruel that even today its name makes people shudder: the Blood Eagle. A death said to tear not only the body, but the very soul of its victim. Before we uncover the truth behind this nightmare, we must look at the people who may have created it. The Vikings. Were they nothing but bloodthirsty raiders, or was there a deeper world of belief, honor, and fear hidden behind their axes and shields? Hit subscribe for more dark history tales. To their enemies, the Vikings seemed less like men and more like demons, an unstoppable force that appeared from the sea, left towns in flames, and vanished before anyone could respond. To others, they were the gods of war themselves, fearless fighters who embraced death as fiercely as they embraced life. Between 750 and 1050 AD, the Viking Age reshaped Europe, and the world trembled at the sound of their war cries. But the Vikings were not a single people, nor a nation. They came from the rugged lands of Scandinavia, modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, where harsh winters, frozen fjords, and unforgiving forests forged them into survivors. In the north, life was not kind. Food was scarce, the cold could kill, and only the strong endured. Out of this unforgiving land sailed the long ships, sleek, deadly vessels that cut through waves faster than any army could march. With them, the Vikings struck deep into foreign coasts, raiding England, France, and Ireland, reaching as far as Spain and North Africa. They crossed the North Atlantic, discovering Iceland, Greenland, and even North America centuries before Columbus. In the east, they followed rivers into Russia and beyond, trading, conquering, and even serving as the feared Varangian Guard in Constantinople. And yet, the Vikings were more than raiders. They were farmers, explorers, traders, and kings. Their gods demanded strength, but their way of life demanded resilience and cunning. To the Vikings, war was never just about survival. It was about glory. A man's fate, they believed, was decided by his own actions. For most warriors, death came quickly, on the battlefield, by the sword, or with a single thrust of a spear. But for those who committed unforgivable crimes, a simple death was not enough. In Viking culture, betrayal, humiliation, or the killing of a great leader demanded more than blood. It demanded a message. This is where the Vikings blurred the line between warriors and executioners. Honor required vengeance, and vengeance required spectacle. Some punishments were swift, but others were designed to terrify not just the victim, but everyone who witnessed it. The worst fate of all was not death itself, but to be remembered in disgrace. Thus emerged the Blood Eagle, a ritual so gruesome that its very existence is still debated, reserved only for the most hated enemies, rival kings, traitors, or killers of kin. It was more than an execution. It was a performance of horror, a punishment meant to erase a man's honor and turn his death into a warning. Imagine the silence as a bound man was laid face down on cold stone, surrounded by grim-faced warriors. No words were spoken, no mercy was offered. Steel alone would speak, and what followed was said to make even the bravest tremble. The Blood Eagle was not a punishment for thieves or common soldiers. It was reserved for enemies whose deaths had to be remembered, whose suffering would echo as a warning. Among those who faced this fate, two names stand out. Halfdan Longleg was a Norwegian prince, son of King Harald Fairhair, the first ruler to unite Norway. But royal blood didn't shield him from vengeance. Halfdan and his brother had seized lands that were not theirs, burning a nobleman named Rognvald alive. This crime demanded retribution. Rognvald's kin, led by Thorfinn, bided their time until Halfdan was captured, defenseless and alone. A sword across the neck would have been too merciful. Instead, the Blood Eagle was carved into his back, an offering to Odin himself. Halfdan's body was torn apart not as a warrior's honor, but as a warning carved into flesh. Yet no blood eagle is more famous than that of King Ella of Northumbria. His crime was the capture and killing of Ragnar Lothbrok, the legendary Viking hero. Ragnar was thrown into a pit of snakes, but before he died, he uttered words that chilled Ella's soul. The little pigs will grunt when they hear how the old boar suffered. It was a prophecy of revenge. In 866, Ragnar's sons returned at the head of the great heathen army. They crushed Ella's forces, captured the king, and executed him with the blood eagle. Whether he screamed or suffered in silence, his death became legend, a tale of vengeance that ensured Ragnar's prophecy was fulfilled. The blood eagle is one of the most infamous executions in history. But did it truly happen? Historians and scholars have debated this for centuries, caught between chilling descriptions and the absence of hard evidence. 9 medieval texts, written in both Old Norse and Latin, describe the blood eagle. Some accounts go into grisly detail, cutting open the back, breaking the ribs, and pulling out the lungs. Others mention only that an eagle was carved into the victim's body. None of these sources, however, are eyewitness accounts. They were written generations after the events, often in poetry rather than prose. Skaldic poetry, the oral tradition of the Vikings, was layered with symbolism and hidden meanings. Many scholars argue that references to the eagle were metaphorical, perhaps describing a warrior's body left torn open for scavenging birds, or symbolizing an offering to Odin. What might sound literal to us could have been poetry to them. No skeleton has ever been discovered showing ribs severed from the spine, and skeptics point to this as proof it never happened. Yet if victims were enemies and traitors, why bury them? More likely, their remains were left to rot, burned or cast into the sea, erasing the evidence forever. Medical research suggests that, gruesome as it sounds, the blood eagle could have been physically possible. Viking weapons were sharp enough, their knowledge of anatomy precise enough, and their brutality great enough. Whether or not it happened exactly as described, the idea alone was enough to inspire terror. Whether it was fact, myth, or something in between, the blood eagle achieved its purpose: fear. Even the possibility that such a ritual could exist was enough to keep kings awake at night, imagining their bodies torn open on cold stone. The Vikings understood that terror was as powerful as the sword, and sometimes more enduring. Centuries have passed since the last longship cut through the waves, but the legend of the blood eagle refuses to fade. It lives on not only in sagas, but in modern culture. In the television series Vikings, the execution of Jarl Borg is shown in harrowing detail, an unforgettable scene that made audiences flinch. Video games like Assassin's Creed, Valhalla have revived the ritual as well, letting players glimpse the brutality of the Viking world. And yet, whether real or symbolic, the message of the blood eagle endures. It represents more than cruelty. It is a reminder of how power can be enforced through fear, how legends grow from violence, and how human beings can transform death into spectacle.